You made your UFC debut last year, two fights, Kevin Holland, Ian Gary, big names within the promotion. And it was a very emphatic statement that you went out there as an underdog and won in the way that you did. So what does this mean for the rest of 2025 for you? And can we expect a more active year than we saw last year in terms of how many times you'll be in the octagon?
Yeah, I'm literally, I've just got back. I'm now pushing already to try and get a fight out as soon as possible. I'm barely touched from that last fight, uh, which is great. So it means I'm in great shape to literally go straight back in and fight again. No physical damage. So I'm excited to hopefully, as you say, be more active this year. And I just again big more big names, more big fights, and then just progression towards the belt.
So obviously you made your debut at 170, you moved up to 185. Is 185 where you'll be staying for now?
No, actually, well, it's a weird one. If I can get a quick turnaround fight, and it means maybe putting less stress on my body, then yeah, maybe I do another middleweight fight. But the goal is 100% to get a welterweight title shot, and which means I have to be active at welterweight. So, if given enough time, or I believe I can do it, then I'll cut down to welterweight again for the next fight.
Mm. Let me ask you about middleweight first, and then we'll talk about welterweight. Middleweight, we've just had UFC 312, Dricus du Plessis, sorry, Sean Strickland. Did you catch any of that main event?
So yeah, I've seen pretty much the whole card apart from that one, and the reason why is
You're
because
a true
today,
MMA fan.
yeah, literally, the reason why is actually I like to do like reaction videos on YouTube, and I wanted an honest reaction. So this evening I'm actually going to be filming. So I've seen I know the result. I just haven't actually watched and studied the fight just yet because I want to film it.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to seeing that. You said that you want fights against people that can strike, and you know what that main event, both pretty much strikers. Is someone like Sean Strickland, is that a name you could see yourself coming up against at middleweight? I think that's a pretty exciting fight in my
Yeah,
eyes.
again, exactly as you say, he loves striking, he loves to fight, stand up, he loves to try and knock people out. I'd love that fight.
Mm.
Fight like that is a great fight for me stylistically. So yeah, I'd definitely love a fight like that.
And speaking of styles in the UFC, Israel Adesanya is another name at middleweight. He's just coming off a loss to Imavov. How would you see a fight with yourself and Adesanya playing out?
I wouldn't. That's my boy, man. That's one of the reasons why I even got this middleweight fight in the first place because Shara called out my boy Izzy, and I had to intercept there. I was like, nah, 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 nah. I'll do it. I got this one, bro. I'll deal with this one. So yeah, nah, nah, nah. Me and him is that's not going to be a fight. I know it's a fight. I'm sure a lot of people would love to see, but that's not going to be a
100%.
fight.
So what do you think about Adesanya then going forward? Do you think he still has it in him to compete at the top level?
100%, man. Seriously. Um, it's just unfortunate. He made it for me, his main mistake that he made during that fight was rushing to get back after he got poked in the eye. He was on if you saw that if you watched it, that first round was exceptional. It was one-way traffic. Anybody can just get knocked. That's the part of the game. Anybody can get knocked. You can be doing everything right and still lose a fight. Typical, like let's use like a Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva fight years ago. Chael Sonnen basically was just again one-way traffic for 5 rounds basically, and in the dire Anderson Silva pulls out a triangle. Anybody can lose at any second, which is why this game is so exciting. But in terms of how he performed, if you actually just look at how he was performing, he was the better guy on that night. Which shows you that he's definitely more than competent to still be in this game.
So speaking back to welterweight, we've got a pretty big fight in that division coming up soon at UFC London on March 22nd. Leon Edwards, JDM, are those sort of names you could see yourself stepping into the octagon with? Because in my books, I think Leon should have got a rematch straight away with
100%.
with Bilal Muhammad, and obviously that is a number one contender fight right there. So, how do you see, how do you feel that with those kind of names, Bilal especially as a UFC champion at the minute?
Which is why I'm so excited to go back there. because there's so many great fights to be had. Every single person you mentioned is an exciting fight, and it's a fight that I would want uh, in the near future, hopefully. So yeah, that's I just think the welterweight division is such an exciting place. So many talented fighters, and I'm just a martial artist. I just love trying to put my skills up against other people that I'm fans of almost. So I love to see great martial arts, and a lot of these guys in their own way they're just talented fighters. But I always see myself, I'm like, yeah, I'll do this and I'll do that, and I want to put myself up against them.
So how do you see that main event playing out then? And are you saying Leon Edwards is someone you would fight in an all British affair, shall we say?
Yeah, it's one I've called out many times. When I saw it or when I envisioned it, it was with him still having the belt. And I thought, yeah, let's bring it to the UK. Me and him, UK headline fight. I think that would just be exceptional. It's great for the UK crowd, just for all the up and coming UK talents coming through to see that. That would be exceptional. But even with or without the belt, I think that's just a great fight. But it has to happen in the UK. I would not take that fight anywhere else.
100%. That is a phenomenal fight. And obviously he dropped the welterweight title in Manchester in July. And I've heard loads of UFC fighters talking. I've heard Aspinall, the Paddy Pimblett talking about Edwards fighting in the early hours of the morning. How do you think you would fare fighting at that time? And do you think that definitely had an effect on his performance that night?
100%. And it's very easy for me to say Leon looked tired in that fight. It genuinely just didn't look awake at all. And it makes sense. You're fighting at 6 in the morning. For Bilal, it's a lot easier coming over to just do that one-off fight. And almost being more on his time. So yeah, it was definitely an unfair kind of situation to be put in. Um, Nobody. There's people. I was literally there. People was falling asleep in the crowd at that time. And this is people that are massive fans, like usually jumping and screaming, and they were struggling to stay awake watching exciting fights. So yeah, it was an unfair situation for any of the fighters to have to kind of have to deal with. But he'll make it back. I think this one's a tough fight for him to take. He definitely did deserve a rematch. This one is a tough fight for him to take, but I do believe he can win it.
You do believe he wins?
Yeah, yeah.
Great. Michael, 13 years on, from your MMA debut, I want to speak to you about this transition from Bellator to the UFC. And, you spoke a bit about this with Ariel Helwani in a sense you don't quite feel as comfortable as you were in Bellator in terms of being able to express yourself. Is that just down to getting those highlight reel knockouts? Once you get that in the UFC, will you feel like, right, this is me, I am myself, or what's that transition felt like from you?
I think it's just comfortability. I was, talking about it recently. I feel it is. I'm gonna use an analogy here. I'm now dating a new girl, and I'm trying a bit too hard to impress. So you're doing a bit too much. You're overthinking a bit too much. This is what's happening while I'm fighting. I'm overthinking the
Mm.
things that I would normally do comfortably. I'll take that risk. Now I'm questioning. I'm second guessing myself, and it's I'm still, performing really well, but I know there is that for me, there's probably another 40-50% of me to give in the cage if I was allowed to, or if I could get myself to feel comfortable in the cage under those UFC lights, because it is a big difference. But it will definitely come, and I'm obviously mentally, pushing myself, and I can slowly feel myself getting better, but I'm definitely still second guessing myself. I'm not quite myself.
Yeah, it feels like from the way you're speaking, it seems like in your head, you've still got loads of fights to go in the next few years.
Yeah, no, 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 no. I'm I'm sure my wife is not excited yet, but about it, because she's under a lot of stress when she goes to these fights. But yeah, I've still got some stuff to get done, and I still feel great. You know what I mean? It's not. It has nothing to do with physically, like my speed, my power. Like I'm keeping up with everybody, and I'm still feeling faster than everybody. So until that starts to die down is when I'll probably stop. But until then, I'm gonna keep going.
Mm. What's it been like working with Dana White?
Do you know what's cool? Like again, I haven't had much time to sit down with him, and a lot of the times, the events is probably the worst time.
Yeah.
to try and have. There's so
Maximum
much going
stress.
on. Yeah, there's so much going on. He's he's having to run to do interviews and this and that. So we kind of see each other in passing a lot of the times. We shake hands and talk very briefly. But he seems, for me, he's been lovely. I speak and spend a bit more time with Hunter, who's the one who signed me in the first place. On Hunter, yeah, he's an exceptional person, lovely guy, knows the game inside out, back to front. And yeah, just kind of glad and happy to be working with him.
And you have made your intentions clear to Hunter and Dana that you want to have a very active 2025 and you want to fight at welterweight and then you want to maybe go back up to middleweight.
Yeah, we've been on point. We've been on the same wave since the beginning. Like even when before I had a sit down dinner with Hunter before I signed, and he was like, "What are your intentions?" I was like, "Look, I want to make noise. I want to have big fights." So he was naming some big names. He's like, "That's the kind of fights you want." I was like, 100%. And as you've seen the start, Kevin Holland, Ian Gary, and then Shara. I think it's only going to keep getting bigger and better.
Yes, so the objective is a UFC welterweight title. Is that what the main goal is right now?
100%. I want to take something away from my years of kind of just putting my body through through a lot of hell, and just the journey. It'll be nice to come out with something.
Have you noticed a difference in skill level? This may be a silly question in the UFC compared to some of your opponents in Bellator. Like, do you notice the likes of Ian Gary, Kevin Holland, do they hit harder? Are they more physical? Is it tougher in the octagon?
No, I honestly, it's just exactly the same fight. It's just under different stress. It's under it's in front of more cameras, more people, more eyes, a bigger platform. Therefore, people deal with it differently. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's weird. Like, let's say for example, being in Bellator, people there are trying to prove themselves to get to a show like UFC. When
Hmm.
you're in UFC, you're trying to maintain and stay at it, like amongst and stay in the show of UFC. So I feel like the want of wanting to kind of progress to a show like UFC makes you take more risks and push yourself a bit more. And then when you're there, uh, which what I mean is in the Bellator, when you're pushing yourself a little bit more and you're taking those risks, you can get caught out a lot more. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like there's more submissions, more KOs. And then you go to a thing, I think people play it a little bit safer, and which makes it harder to fight. When you're fighting people that are being a bit more cautious, it means the fight is definitely going to be more difficult or feel more difficult, but it's the same fight.
But going forward, we will see you maybe not playing it as safe as you go for that title.
That's the plan. That's the plan. I want to go. I want to go in there and, like I said, just express myself to the way I used to, with that same want to, be on doing bigger and better things.
I want to finish just asking you about your debut for BKFC. Your bare knuckle fight. You made your debut in the full rope ring in 2022 against Mike Perry in London. How was that whole experience? And were they some of the toughest blows you've received in your combat sports career?
Weird enough, no. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, I think adrenaline wise, it's just more. The punches are different. The punches, everything is damaging. So before you can kind of take a jab, like let's say even in boxing, MMA, because there's padding there, you can take a jab and kind of ride with it. Whereas a jab in BKFC could still swell. It will still swell you. It will still cut you. There's
Yeah.
more of an effect. So you had to be a little bit extra, like careful, and it's very difficult because the intensity is different because the rounds are shorter.
Yeah.
So normally you have a minute or so to kind of feel your opponent and try and find and get the range. BKFC can't do
It
that.
is
You haven't
really
got the time.
created for knockouts, isn't it?
It's literally designed for knockouts. The actual canvas itself and my mistake that time was not actually going into the canvas. Like in my head, I was like, yeah, it's basically the same thing. But although it's a big canvas, the ropes start like closer in. So you'll take one step back and you're basically on the ropes. So it's very different. There's no give to the ropes as well. So you can't lean, you can't do any rope a dope kind of style. It's just very different. And my mistake was not kind of figuring that thing out before actually having that fight. Um, But yeah, in terms of when you feel it, the adrenaline in there, you're just pumped. Every shot, you're just whatever. You're just it's a fight.
Yeah. Conor McGregor obviously is a big influence in the bare knuckle scene. In your eyes, is it a return or a retire for Conor McGregor right now? And could you see yourself back in BKFC?
I would love to again. Everybody that knows me, family, friends, they would all hate it. They'd all be against it. And Conor McGregor, who knows? I think it's for me anyway. It's very tiring because these guys talk a lot, and it's because you want everyone's going to be excited for a return of somebody with that kind of star power. Everyone's excited for it. They want to see what's going to happen. So the constant back and forth is just annoying. I'd prefer not to say anything, and then when you're 100% going to do it, say it, and then actually just execute it. I'm a man of just a few words. If I say it, I'm gonna go and do it. Same, which is reason why I did the BKFC, which is reason why I did the Polaris the other day. I've done like I go in and done boxing. If I'm up for it, I'm gonna say it and then go and execute. I don't do this like back and forth nonsense. So um, I'm not sure.
Michael, it's been a pleasure. So are we saying two more fights in 2025?
I'd love three if
Three?
possible. I'd love three.
Is UFC London too quick of a turnaround?
It may be, but I'd
You're not
literally
ruling
put
it
my
out?
hand up. If you want to like have me as a spare just in case somebody drops out, I'll put my hand up to do that.
Well, I mean, could you make that cut in time for to get
Mate,
the
if
official
they're gonna
backup?
have me as a spare, then mate, I'm gonna have to. If I'm gonna put my hand up to do it, I'm gonna have to. But yeah, we'll see. But if not, there's another card directly after in Miami, I believe. I fought there once
Yes.
before, in April. So yeah, I'd love to at least be ready for that.
Michael, it's been a pleasure. Top man, whereabouts are you in the world right now?
I'm back home, back in the UK.
Back in the UK. Love to see it. Yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much.
No
And thank you for
worries.
speaking to us today. And I wish you the best.
Thank you, man. Take care.